so much, Trish. That was so relaxing and comfortable, and I do appreciate that. And I also appreciated being the student and being able to take advantage of what it feels like to not lead, but to be led. As educators, we are both teachers and students, are we not? So I find it so important to always have that that mindset, if you don't mind me using the word, is to have the mindset of we're always in a teaching learning mode. I want to learn from the teacher who's in a learning teaching mode rather than the teacher who just knows it all and is done, because in my opinion, then they are done and they should go now. So I do like the constant learning. Let me just do a check-in though. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes, thumbs up? Okay, good. So talking about creating a culture, I'm just gonna make sure I've got I'm in a different space than I usually am. And that happened because this is how it goes when you teach online or when you work online. The unexpected happens. So the unexpected should be expected, right? So we have plumbers in the house right now because the upstairs bathroom shower decided that it would drip into the kitchen below. Not just drip, but kind of like pour. Okay? So we know these things happen, right? This is an example of how you have to be quick, change something, not flip out, and say, where am I going to go? Where in the house can I go? Because they're going to tear out 3 different room walls. Partially. Pray for me. Anyway, so this is where you go like, okay, this is life, right? And this is definitely life online. Because if we were meeting in person, I'd be like, see ya, and I'd be out the door. But no, instead we have to find a place to be. So I have my earplugs just in case they come in here and they need to be in here. If they do, I'm gonna put my earplugs in. So I just wanted to bring up that example from my own situation today. That is a perfect, for me, a perfect modeling of how our best laid plans, whoosh, right? And as teachers, we have to pivot so quickly. And we know that. I think that everyone in the group is a teacher and or teacher leader. So I think that I'm speaking to in the right voice for our group today. And I wanted to ask you to unmute yourself if you don't have, like, you know, plumbers in the background. If you feel like you can unmute yourself, please do, because I'm very interactive and I need to hear from you and I need to see you. I'd love to hear from a few people. What does this subject, if I may, creating a classroom culture online or creating relationships online, mean to you right now? What are you questioning or wondering about? Points for not being shy. Krista, is that you ready to go?
Well, I'm skeptical. What am I wondering about? It's just the quality of the relationships.
Okay, skeptical of the quality of relationships. As opposed to the relationships that you have when you're in class face-to-face?
Yes.
Okay, so how do we get that strong connection online when we actually haven't met these students face-to-face? Now, our last semester, we were in class with people, we had already met them, we'd established a relationship, so poof, we're online. So we, although it was odd in all the ways that we know about, we at least knew and had been breathing the same air as these people, right, as our students. How do we start anew without having that? Thank you. I'm gonna touch on that. and somebody, Krista, will you be my bird walking accountability partner?
What do you mean? I guess so. Okay.
You know when you're talking and you're on a subject and then whoop, butterfly, and now you're on something else?
Yes.
Will you make sure I get back and answer that question?
Yes.
Whatever it may be. Thank you,
Well,
Krista.
yeah, I don't think it's really a question so much as just
Concern.
It's something I want to work on and figure out. And this is as good a place to start as any, this group. But go ahead. Yes, I'll do what I can.
Thank you so much. I also need someone to help me with reading any comments, because I'm really terrible at reading comments and talking at the same time in a class. Can anybody help me with that? Be a partner for me, and if the question comes up, relay that question to me, because I don't even have the chat open.
Okay. I will, Leslie.
You will? Who will?
Trish.
Trish? Thank you so much, Trish. Thank you. Okay, that's like a big weakness of mine. Once I get going, I cannot read over there at all. So I don't know if it's a weakness. What would you call it? A what? A challenge?
Intensity of focus.
Yeah, focus. And it pulls my focus away, and it becomes challenging for me, and then I lose my train of thought, which with every passing day happens, more and more quickly. And so I ask for a lot of forgiveness up front. And in my classes, I do just this. I need a timekeeper. Rachel, can you be my timekeeper?
Yep.
All right, thank you so much. So now I'm already demonstrating to you how I'm starting to make my community, okay? I'm asking for help from my team. My team is my students. We are a team in the classroom. I am not the boss of the classroom in the sense of making the class successful or not. I am not in charge of my students' happiness. I am not in charge of making sure that they even learn the subject, to be honest, because I can't do that. I can't make sure that they learn it. So we have all of our SLOs. They tell us what we're supposed to teach and what students will know by the time class is over, right? That's great. Those are all the things we're going to offer and all the things we're going to provide for our students. I can't make them learn it, okay? They have to want it. I like this saying about the strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of each individual member is the team, right? So the weakest link, all of that, I fully believe that. When I go into my classrooms in the first days, and I'm going to talk about the way that I would do it online or on ground. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's the same. Can those of you who teach, well, many of you teach, tell me what you do generally on the first day of class?
Icebreaker.
You do an icebreaker. Why do you do an icebreaker?
Just getting to know everybody, introductions, and some kind of icebreaker.
Yeah, so you can start building relationships and community right away.
Yeah.
With an icebreaker. I love Strangers in a Ball Pit from Soul Pancake. Do you all know that one? So good. Strangers in a Ball Pit from Soul Pancake. Fantastic. So we watch it, then I break them into partner groups. I make them stand if we're in class, and it's so great. They know someone very well. I think it's 7 questions. And anyway, check it out. It's really great. That is one of the icebreakers I use. Does anyone have another one Krista, do you have one that you really like that you use?
I always have to look. I have to write these things down.
Mm-hmm. I do too. I'm not an auditory learner at all. Anybody have an icebreaker that they like to use?
This is not an icebreaker, but this is something I've experienced in a few of these that it kind of broke the ice, which is have everyone say their name all at once, or just say one thing all at once, and it just kind of shakes everybody up a little bit. And now, there's a lot of people in the room and we're all doing something.
That's fantastic. And I'm sure a lot of laughter erupts and all of that too. And there's that sameness that happens. So could that work online?
Right, that's where I've experienced it recently.
Okay.
And someone else called it popcorn, when they just
Oh,
got people to put one word out in response to something that had been discussed.
yes.
What is your relationship with blank? And everyone just said a word, and it was like popcorn.
I love that. And that can absolutely be done online. And you can categorize that, or say theme it, so that you can have them all going in one way. It could be the subject of your course, right? Could be how they're feeling, online learning. One word about online learning, you'll know exactly how they're feeling about it if they all pop in or chime in, right? I feel it's so important in this climate that we're in, or what do we call season that we're in, that we do acknowledge right away, first day, we acknowledge the students and thank them for being present, physically present. And I might be saying things you already do, but these are just the things that I'm here to talk about some today. Please feel free to jump in and give your strategies as well. We're here as the team. I do thank my students for showing up. We know that there are a lot of obstacles that our students are going through, or maybe experiencing by being online as opposed to on ground. Technical difficulties, we do or may not have any power over that, so to speak. Internet, good computer or phone, spaces in the house or in your place where you're going to work, or you're going to show up for class, in the car, on a bench, doesn't matter. If they're showing up, they're showing up. Maybe there are multiple siblings in a home and everyone is learning online right now. That's so difficult, right? Very stressful. Because maybe there are not computers for each member of the family. Maybe parents are also working from home. And so everyone is connected into the box somehow, but maybe there aren't enough boxes to go around. So how do we prioritize that? Maybe there are babies running around. Maybe there are elderly people who need care. Yeah, so many animals, right? So many things that are going on in people's homes that you don't know about. I don't know what's going on in your homes right now. Anybody else have a plumber in the house? Anybody else have something going on behind the room that you're in that's like,
Children.
yeah? Shoshana, what's happening?
Children.
Yeah.
My kids are raiding the freezer for popsicles right in front of me as we speak.
Yeah.
They're probably laughing it up. Yep. Love it. So here Shoshana's trying to pay attention, but she's got her kids over there, criminals right now, right in front of her. And they know she can't do a darn thing about it, right? So she's going with it right now, okay? Going with it right now. This is what we have to do. So it's not only in our homes that these things are happening, right? All of our students have whatever is happening in their home. Besides that, they also have the mental piece, the fears, the worries about being online. Maybe they don't have the books or ability to get the book, or the book hasn't come yet, or it hasn't been downloaded yet. All of those things that are general stressors anyway for our on-ground students are really magnified in the online platform. So we must acknowledge that. For me, I don't care if I spend the whole first class learning about my students and them learning about me. That time that you spend doing that, paying forward, so to speak, and building that community is extraordinarily valuable. I know you know that. Not just that we show up on the first day and talk about the syllabus and what's due. Forget about it. The syllabus is already posted. If you haven't looked at it, well, you probably should. We'll look at it maybe today. If we get to it, we'll let you know if something's coming up or something like that. But let your students know that this is our family. Right now, the 41 of us that are sitting in here, that you all, ladies and gentlemen, are my family. You are the people that are the most important to me in this moment. Okay? We know kids are raiding refrigerators. We know plumbers are knocking out walls. But you know what? This is where it's at. And I need to prove that by being authentic in that moment. I need to let them know that I'm looking at them and I'm loving on them for the time that we have together, that I'm listening to them, that I want to know who they are. Depending on the class size, you can go through and ask people to introduce themselves. That's one way. What is their, might say, where are you in school, for example, and that will help you learn your students. For all of those people who are on right now and showing me your live face, I'm giving you like so much energy and you are giving me so much energy. I have to make an expectation in my class online that I do not just look at black boxes with your names or still photos, unless you have to get up to go to the bathroom or you're nursing your baby or whatever you're doing. If not, I want to see your face. I need to see you moving. If we were in the same classroom, we'd be breathing each other's air, right? We hear that. But thank you for those of you who are popping in. Breathing each other's air. I need your air to be 110% with you. Do you know what I'm saying? Deepak Chopra says, when we're in a space with one another, now definitely this does not fly for COVID, but when we're talking with one another, our cells are literally leaving our body. And we are, sounds gross, literally inhaling other cells. Sounds creepy, but it's true. So you know you have these classrooms where everything is clicking. Everybody's just like jiving and everything's so good. Well, those cells and that combination from a sort of a scientific creepy way means that you're really vibing. You're really gelling together. It's working. And we don't have that on online, do we? So how do we replace that? How do we get that same kind of energy? How can I make sure that I look in Antonia's eyes, in Dr. Alma's eyes, in Laura's eyes, Rachel's and Patricia's, in Trish? Do you see me looking at you? Shaba, you have to tell me how to say your name.
Eliseva.
Eliseva, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, Willie, and Krista, and Shoshana, and Susan, and Tracy. I want to see your face. Yes, your eyes. Thank you. And Jody, thank you so much. That's a human connection. That's what we're getting now. If we say this isn't enough, then it isn't. But we can make it enough. We can make it as authentic as possible. I feel closer to the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 of you who have your pictures up than I did 10 minutes ago, because I took a minute and I looked at your face and I looked you in the eye. And I wonder how you're doing. This is love in action. This is education in action. This is communication in action. It takes but a minute, but I won't forget the minute. And when we come back together again for the next class, I'll remember you better. And I'll feel more connected to you each time that happens. Okay? So that's the way I'm breathing you in right now, if I have to use that analogy, let's say. And you, I want you to look in my eyes. I'm looking at my camera. See me. I need you to see me, because I cannot be whole to you if you don't see me. Okay? It is a team. Yes.
Wait, can I add one thing? I just so appreciate this, and the modeling has such obvious applications to working with children. And and even just the power of saying people's names.
Yes.
The one thing I would add, because I heard and related to the challenge of the breathing cells analogy, not analogy, the truth of that. It also occurred to me that in psychological terms, we also know that in person, we are taking in all of this nonverbal communication, and we know that part of Zoom fatigue is the impoverishment of all that information and how much harder we have to work. And
Yes.
and that's part of what we're offering children and each other, right, when we're face to face. But so it's not perfect, but at least when our cameras are on, we can do a little bit of that. And
Yes.
and even something like encouraging each other to, you know, be like, have even our torso visible adds a little bit more of ourselves to one another. So I just thought adding a
That's
little bit
good
of the
point. Yes.
psychology in addition to the biology, because I know the bio gets a little,
I
it
know.
can be weird.
We're child development people. We're educators, but we are, I have to say, and thank you so much for that share. We're also scientists. We're not that bad at math. I'm terrible at math. We're not that bad at math. Don't ask me to do any arithmetic. But the math that I can do is the research type. I understand data of people, data of action, data of communication and language. That's where my scientific piece comes in. So I study people and human development. That's scientific. And I think it's the most important science. I want to acknowledge Arlene. Thank you, Arlene, for turning on your camera. And thank you to Kathy for turning your camera on too. I see you. And Kim, I'm not sure if I said hi or saw you before because you moved positions. So I'm just going to look at you again and say thank you.
I have a question. I think that acknowledging those, the effort, and I plan on giving participation points and offering different ways, but I also, in acknowledging the students' challenges, they may not be able or feel comfortable to turn their cameras on if they are in a household that they don't feel comfortable, the professor and their peers viewing. And that's something I think we have to be aware of. And so I was trying to, in creating the online version, figure out how to, like offering credit for them answering the chat or turning, putting things out there like that, because I know there are students who just can't be seen at home or their equipment isn't good enough.
Oh, 100%. I agree with you on all that.
So,
yes.
So I'm trying to think of other ways to help them. As much as I value the, what you're saying in the relationships, obviously you want it to be as close to in person as possible.
Right.
Sometimes it's not possible.
And Krista, thank you so much for saying that, because that is 100% accurate. And we need to remember that as well. So I love the idea of credit for chat, etc. Because I know you're participating. If I just see your name and if I don't see your face or hear anything else, I mean, you could be like in the kitchen making, breakfast or whatever. I don't know where you are.
Napping too. I mean,
You
I
could
know
be
there are
napping.
a lot of students who will sneak or, they
Yeah.
will take advantage of that. But I also think there are legitimate excuses or reasons.
Yes, I mean, they're emailing, they're texting. Yes.
Yeah.
Question. Yeah. Yes.
So,
Yes.
Oh.
Krista, I was gonna say, one of the things that I think you can do that I've done in the past, or that has worked, is to have the students who don't feel comfortable with that create some kind of a collage that is all about them, that they do feel comfortable with.
Great.
Have that uploaded as their picture that they have on here. So when they're not there, you're seeing who they are, a representation of who they are from their own individual selves. And I think that then helps you as an instructor really connect with them on a very personal level and have an ability to actually convey that to them based on what you're seeing. That's just one of the ideas that I.
Yes, Elizabeth.
Hi. Yeah, I love that idea. I actually just Friday had a chance to experience some of the challenges of exactly the situation that arises, because, and this was not with students, it was with colleagues as part of an anti-racism working group. And so, you know, one of the things that's at the front of my mind right now is ensuring that in building these relationships this fall, we're also creating space to have the difficult and really vital conversations about race and culture that we've always cared about, but it's so pressing right now. And so in this meeting, we were just getting comfortable enough to have differences of opinion in the conversation, and it was getting tense and challenging. And the tricky thing was that what the two people who were really ready to go and had a difference of opinion, one did not have his camera on, couldn't, and the other could only chat. And the rest of us were on camera and audible. And so on one hand, it was like, oh, well, this is doable. That was really, that gave me a lot of hope. And on the other, oh my goodness, was it challenging. And like had this whole other layer of uncomfortable to a conversation that a lot of people would run from under regular circumstances. Exactly. So I just wanted to put that out there, because I think that is what, at least I know I want to sign on to and find a way through.
And that brings me to something that I want to talk about too, advocacy, but I want to hold that for just a second. So Krista, keep me honest about advocacy.
Great.
Are you, can you raise your hands? Are you professors? Are you instructors at college level?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you anyone, teachers at not college level? Okay, so you're teaching your teachers how to work with the students, and you're also want to know about how to work. Hi, Laura, thank you. Laura, do you want to talk? Nope, she's raising her hand. I want to make sure that I'm giving you.
I was just answering your question that I was
Okay.
not at college. Sorry.
At a college or not a college?
High school.
High school, okay. I just kind of wanted to figure out how we're going here, because some are teaching teachers, right, in college. And so we're learning not only how we, as instructor, professor, or teacher, whatever we call ourselves, we're all teachers, it doesn't matter, we're educators, how we teach to our demographic. And so you'll have to tailor some of what I say to fit your circumstance, but they're all adult or nearly adult learners. We don't have any elementary, for example. No pre, you're not teaching, we're not talking about how we teach preschoolers online, right? Okay, all right, so thank you. I just want to make sure I've got that. Advocates. We have to be advocates for our students. They have to know, and we need to make it abundantly clear that we are 1000% in their court. We work for them. If they don't have a computer, or they're having trouble with internet, or their computer's wonky, we need to get with our colleges, schools, and make sure these students have what they need, if at all possible. It's important that libraries are still open, I think. Are libraries still open? No? Okay, so there was a minute where we could do that. So anyway, so coffee shops, you know, you have to sit outside, but there are places like that right now, but there weren't in the spring. And students who only ride the bus, students who, you know, are only would be able to go to a library to get their internet, they have nothing. Okay, I hope that has improved somewhat by fall, but it is up to us. I had to make the phone calls, I had to do the emails, I needed to advocate for my student. It was so important, and my student was, her mind was blown that I was willing to go to all of those steps. But my job is to teach. My job is to make sure that, to the best of my abilities, that my students have what they need to receive my information. I find that to be my job, and especially in this climate, especially. Students don't always know how to ask for it. They don't know how to advocate. I had a student who didn't tell me for weeks that she didn't have internet. And she was turning in nothing. And I was, you're gonna fail the class. My heart is breaking. Please don't let this happen. I don't accept that. You know, how can I help you? She had no internet. She had no computer. She was trying to write papers on her phone. She was trying to do all this. And she's a DSPS student. And she's a single parent. And she's at home with no income. Well, she was getting a little bit from the government. But her son, severe disabilities, high schooler. Her world came to a crashing halt. You probably have stories like that, or have heard stories like that. We have to remember that we are advocates. Rita Pearson has a YouTube video called
Every Child's Champion.
Thank you. Yes, every kid needs a champion. And if you haven't seen it, go look. And remember, we must be those champions for our students. Set those things up, set that part of your relationship up. That can break down some of the skepticism that, for instance, Krista mentioned. Prove to them that you're there for them. Ask for their participation in any way they can possibly participate, because it strengthens the community and the class. I don't want to sit and talk for an hour and a half or 3 hours, depending on my course, and look at nobody but me. I don't want to only hear my voice, because that is boring and dismal. And I will not be as good a teacher. We work with humans. We're in human development, not just child development. We're in human development. That means we need to have a conversation. We need to communicate. So important. So how am I doing on time?
You have about 5 more minutes.
Well, that's terrible. Okay, so be the intentional teacher. Ask your students what they need and want from you, and listen and write it down and write their name next to it. Okay, and then go back and circle back and make sure that you heard them correctly. Ask them to private chat you. Ask them to email you later. You decide if you give more information than that. But getting that feedback from them on the constantly is so important. I do a check-in that is every single time after my first class. I find out who's struggling with COVID right now, for example, who's having struggles in any other of the revolutionary moments that we're having, where they could use class good vibes or thoughts for them. If they have family that are working as essential workers, etc. We go back to that every single class. That builds a relationship. That builds a culture in your classroom of caring. It matters. And mean it when you do it. Really mean it. Make sure that they have a safe space in this online classroom, the way that they would in another classroom. Invite them to private chat you if necessary. I mean, if they would like, not say necessary, but if they would like. Invite them to be holding their baby, petting their dog, eating their food, whatever they need to do. Okay, they get to come and do that, because I'd rather have them doing that in there than not there. And I know you're the same. So we've got to take our ego out of it. We take our ego out of it when we come into the classroom. We take the stigma of professor, of instructor. We are one. We are one. Sister, brother, in this thing. We are family. And from that place, you can build the most beautiful environment and culture in your classroom, because you're modeling how it matters to you, and how, like, I noticed that Sister Becky and Joy and Stacy Lee came on. Hi, ladies. So good to have you here. Okay, so building the culture comes from you modeling and you meaning it, you taking your ego out of the equation, you saying, I'm going to, first of all, let me tell you, I'm going to fail 100 million times. So I'll just put that out there right now. All the technical stuff, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to probably like send out things the wrong way or not complete. So I'm letting you know that up front, let it wash over you. And now you know me, I can't spell because of the stupid spell check, and I cannot count. Okay, and that's a real thing and a phobia. And so are the other things. So by the way, those are some of my challenges. You can call them weaknesses. You can call them failures. It doesn't matter. You need to know about it. All right. I have to put that out to my students right away. Then when we talk about diversity in the classroom, we take away color. We take away race. We take away gender. We take away money. What is the diversity in the classroom? After all those things are gone, now what do we have? Well, I don't know. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your passions? Those are the things that make us diverse. And those are the things that make us family. Those are the things that make us as interesting as all the other obvious diversity that we have, that we can address in a myriad of ways along the way, because thank God we're in human services. We're in human development. All those critical and difficult conversations now more than ever, we need to lead. Humble hat on, ego out the door. Say the hard thing. Be willing to hear the hard thing. Reflect. Write down your reflections. Ask yourself, be your own devil's advocate. Ask yourself the hard questions. And what do I say? If you ask a question, what do you have to do? Answer it. Got to hold yourself accountable. Don't ask for more from your students than you're not willing, that you're do for yourself. You do more than them if necessary, but you do it in front of them, okay? Because we are human, just as they are, and humans are messy. And we're predictably unpredictable, are we not? And we need each other like we need air and water. And if there's no other way to know this, we know this by not being able to physically be in each other's presence. But by acknowledging that together, by seeing your eyes and your face and your name, if possible, or as Kim suggested, a great collage or something that's up. So lovely, so that I know who I'm talking to. Janice, thank you for jumping in. Okay, so she shows me her face. It's fantastic. Thank you, Janice. That's a gift for me. I hope it's a gift for you too. So come in, give everybody an A at the start of the class. That's a whole time that we can talk about what that looks like and how that morphs. Say, good morning, graduates. Hello, A+ students. Okay. This might sound all hippie and all that to you, but I'm telling you, it goes a long way. And for students who make a judgment when they see me, because I'm white, I have blonde hair that I pay for, and blue eyes, okay? So I'm already have privileges, and I know that I do. And I'm sorry about some of that, and I'm embarrassed about some of that, and I need to say that, and I need to learn from my students. But I have things to bring that I can share because of who I am, because of my experiences. And I want to open your worlds, if I can, with things that I have. And I want you to open my worlds with those things that you have that are unique to you and or your culture or whatever, that whole pot. So come in as an instructor, but come in as a learner, come in as a sister, a brother, a coach, a mentor, an advocate, championing championing your students. They will see and feel your love. They will see and feel your authenticity. Be you. Dr. Seuss says something about because you're the only you there is.
Mm-hmm.
And you're good enough. And you're going to make mistakes. And you use those mistakes just as you would tell your students to do. And you apologize flat out. You can have fear and forget everything and run, right? Fear, forget everything and run. But you're not going to do that because you're a leader. You're an educational leader. And so I wrote something down, if I can find it, about the word fail, because Rachel mentioned something about people are afraid to fail. And yes, we're all afraid to fail. So I decided that fail for us would look like forge ahead in learning.
Ooh.
I've been thinking about it for days, and it just came to me when I sat down and said, I'm too far away. And then it came to my head. So anyway, yes, forge ahead in learning. Get to know your students, see their backgrounds, listen for what you can hear. All right, if you can see their backgrounds. Come with a lot of openness. And if you're asking for them to forgive you up front, and to roll with you and all the things you don't know and all the odd things that are going to happen, or whoops, there goes my husband walking across my screen and didn't know he was there, and all of those things that happen, then they know that you are feeling the same about them, right? And so it's reciprocal. So be kind, yeah.
So Leslie?
Yeah, I think my time is up.
Um,
I think, yeah, keep going. What,
Well,
yes.
we can leave it to the group because we were going to break out into small groups and let you have time to digest with each other what we were just talking about, and maybe think about your experiences that you wanted to bring to your students and have time to kind of debrief that a little bit. So we were going to give about 10-15 minutes to do that. Do you want to stay on in the large group, or should we go and break out? If you want to break out, give me a thumbs up. Or
I'm not going anywhere, so here, either way.
I have one person giving me a thumbs up.
Okay, okay.
People. So it looks like everybody wants to stay continuing with this conversation for another 10 minutes.
Okay, then team, talk to me. Do you have any questions so far? Anything that you want me to address? Anything specific? Or, oh, I thought of this and I did that and I want to share it with the group.
While people are forming their thoughts, so just say in the chat, there's a lot of really good ideas reinforcing what's been brought up. And so if you want to make sure that when Rachel sends it out, or if you kind of scroll through it, there's a lot of good reinforcement. But I know the last one Susan was talking about, making sure this is not just a first or a second class, that this is continued through the entire course. That this is repeated and repeated. And so I just thought that bared repeating.
Yeah. Okay, so is there any way for the chat to be saved or something later, or I can look at it later, Rachel? Okay, because I
send it out.
Okay, because I am true to my word on that. I am not watching the chat. So if somebody, you got to jump in, and that's why I'm cool with you unmuting yourselves so that we can, have we're in a classroom.
And Becky brought up a really good point about how we also have to be organized and prepared, and things feel chaotic, and students, like children, need to have predictability and reliability. And so even though we make mistakes, we also want to be prepared, and we don't want to make mistakes because we're not. I guess
I read something that says something like Plan A. Oh gosh, you guys, I will look it up and send it to Rachel. It's like Plan A is just one letter. There are 25 other letters to go, or something like that. It's like, oh my God, I love that. Because, when we're in a classroom, especially if we're teaching children, you know, you've got a basket over here and puppets over there and 3 more books over here that aren't on your lesson plan. You're ready to go, right? Instruments, whatever, because your audience might say, this is not getting me today. You've got to switch it, lady. And so or man, sorry, Willie, got to switch it and be able to say like, hey, I'm gonna throw that out right now and we're gonna go this way. I do love those teachable days and those teachable moments. I don't want to overuse that because sometimes people think that's trite, but I can't express to you how important it is and how often I roll with it. My syllabus is a draft until the last day.
I was kind of thinking about what Rachel said in regards to a lot of people are teaching practicum students. And part of the early days of practice teaching is some discussions about professionalism. And the last semester, everyone had to switch immediately and they became online students without plan. But this semester, those that are going to take the course will know that it is online. So because that community, in our case, it's a seminar, I kind of was thinking a little bit the opposite of not having people eat during the thing, but to say that if you need to leave, you know, people just go ahead and take your image off. But that generally we need to be there. This is the seminar that you've attended. And just when I used to teach face-to-face with big classes, if someone really wanted to read the newspaper or have a discussion with a friend, no problem, just go in the hall. As you said, it's your choice if you want to be a part of this group. So I think I was kind of thinking about going, and I've heard some colleagues talk about going with the expectation of some decorum. I've been on meetings where people are doing all sorts of things during the meeting. And I think part of it is some people don't realize that they're seen. They think if they can't see it on that screen, nobody else can. If you're on a smaller, you know, even doing a phone, you don't realize what's being seen. So I think maybe starting the class along with welcome and is sort of just some housekeeping stuff like you would do in any classroom. That's respectful of everybody else.
And I have that in my notes, Patricia, I just didn't say it, and that was to set up the expectations of the classroom. What do students expect? What are the rules of the class? What are the guidelines that we are going to follow in this community, in this classroom? And therein you can create those rules like we do when we're on ground. You know, what's going to be okay, what's not going to be okay. And so I think that's very important because when people are doing a lot of activity, it can be very distracting for others. I know that sometimes you have to turn off the ability for students to chat with one another too. Otherwise you see them laughing on this page and over here on this picture and you're like, okay, you guys, you know, let us in or knock it off, okay? And so it's hard to ride both those, you know, rails. It really is. But if we set up, as you say, this is the way this course is going to go, not just from me, but I need to hear from you what's important to you. Okay, we all know that we'll all follow better if we have buy-in. And so I also want to, in my class, I want to make sure that they know that they have ownership in the class as far as rules, and that also provides the safe space, which I did mention earlier, but that is how I also describe or discuss creating a safe space. What does that look and sound like to you, students? And then we create that. And yes, that happens early on, and then I can monitor that. Thank you. Arlene.
Oh. Hi. I just wanted to share, you know, a few semesters ago, when I first started teaching college class, well, full-time, I got a piece of advice from one of my colleagues that was really helpful in terms of being transparent as an instructor. And she just, I mean, we want our students to know that, you know, we share experiences with them and that we, you know, are human. But her advice to me was, yes, share your personal experiences, but think ahead of time, ahead of class, of what you want to share from your personal life, because the worst thing you want to do is in the middle of your class suddenly be in tears because now it's turned into your own therapy session.
Oh no. Oh, no. Oh, yes and no at the same time. Yes.
And it really is true, because, and I think for all of us, as we just mentioned in this meeting, we're all dealing with stuff. Like I myself have my children right in front of me.
Right.
And I think for us to be strong educators, we need to kind of have a plan in our head of what we want to share of our personal lives in our classes. And of course, we want to be transparent with our students. But I don't want my students to feel that I'm unloading on them. So, you know,
Oh my gosh,
they have
yes.
stuff too.
Such a good point.
And and it's been so helpful for me because I can kind of pick out what are some of my personal experiences that I've gone through. I teach parent ed, I teach curriculum classes, I teach, you know, family and personal development. And a lot of those are some deep discussions. And so it's really helped me to kind of handpick some of my own personal experiences that I am willing to share. And then I draw a line for myself of what I'm not willing to share with my students. And it's been so helpful. Because I have had students that try to kind of cross the line with me and you know, tell me a lot of personal things, and I have to direct them to, I mean, at CSULB, we call it CAPS. It's like, you know, I can refer you over to, you know, some counseling if you need to, but I really don't want students to feel that they can just kind of unload on me, because my personality is I'll take it home and I'll stay up all night thinking about my students. And, you know, it's not fair for us as instructors too.
Yes, you have to definitely make those guidelines for yourself and what is comfortable and not. You want to be relatable, but they're not going to be your best friends. We're not, you have to be careful, as you said, especially when you're teaching parenting classes, how much you share about your own parenting experiences, etc., and your own children. It's so great that we can use ourselves and our experiences to model, to demonstrate, to discuss, but again, Arlene, you bring up a really good point. Be careful. I have this on my pad of paper. I have this says start by sharing the plumber. That was how I was going to start today. That was my share about but that's on purpose because I wanted to discuss how we need to be at the ready. To not get freaked out because we're living in the real world, and not to be angry and so on. Kim.
We have 2 more minutes, by the way.
Okay.
I was just going to say, Arlene, I think that speaks so directly to the idea of interpersonal reflection and the importance of really participating in that as we transition to online, as we set up these courses. And really, I think digging into who we are as instructors and what is our pedagogical approach? What are our philosophies? What are we willing to be flexible in? What are we unwilling to be flexible in? And I think it all begins there. How much am I willing to share about myself? Where do I think I can really connect with these students? You know, and as you go along, you get to know your students a bit more. But I think what it really comes down to is just the importance of participating in, and not only the intrapersonal reflective practices, but but also the interpersonal reflective practices. Willing to sit with your colleagues and say, this worked, what didn't work for you, you know, kind of like we're doing right now. But I really appreciate you touching on that, because I think that's where, number one, this transition begins with our individual reflection, what we know about ourselves and what we're willing, who we're willing to be and who we're not willing to be. That's all.
I mean, for example, I'm in my bedroom, and we know we've seen students in their bedroom and so on. I mean, like, my bedroom this is our space, okay? I'm not really willing to turn this camera around and show you my bed. That's my bed. This right here, I was gonna put a picture of my family, which you wouldn't have seen anyway in the picture. But I chose not to, because I thought, if I have my students, I don't really know if I want my family's pictures in my camera, because they can screenshot and they can zoom in. So those were some choices because I had to make this makeshift space out, right? That I normally would not have to make. So I do think it's important that we are cognizant about protecting ourselves as well, and modeling that for our students. Okay.
If possible, can I squeeze one in? I just wanted to, in the chat room, Becky was talking about tangents being, good learning moments. And I just wanted to kind of circle back to that and just kind of reinforce that point of sometimes, personally, some of my best interactions with students where we've gone the deepest dive into a particular topic, I had never even planned on, I was going to do it like maybe 2 weeks from now, but it just, the students were ready at that moment to explore that topic. And so I just abandoned my plan and we went with it. And then some of us were talking too about, I've cried in class, and I wanted to make that differentiation between being honest and in the moment with the students and showing that humanity and crying about a topic, which is different than a therapy session, and going kind of all in and resolving all of my life issues. But in that moment when that tangent happens, but again, as Arlene was saying, I've been doing this long enough that I know exactly what I'm okay sharing and where my lines are. But yeah, I've cried, and sometimes students respond so powerfully. They just kind of sit back and are like, oh no. And then we can move and we can talk. And then also modeling how I can recover from that, and then how that relates. And then possibly what can we do in children's lives that hopefully they won't experience whatever it was, or what I could do to help a child through it at that moment as well too. So those were some of the things that were happening in the chat room, and I just wanted to make sure we circled on.
Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, I believe in this saying from Jeff Olson, and the saying is, go slow to go fast. And what your comment, Trish, just reminded me of that. We don't need to rush to any finish lines. We don't need to rush through anything, especially now. I really believe in paying forward, and I believe in taking the time to, as I said in the beginning, to make sure that we are experiencing each other and that we're getting to know each other on some level, and that it's more of a personal level, because we're in each other's personal space now. And that changes it too, whether we have a false background or not. It's, you know what I mean? It is more personal, and it makes us more vulnerable. And I think we can acknowledge that vulnerability to say that the students may be feeling vulnerable, but I too feel that way, and on many levels. Making it okay, taking stigma away from perfection or the best presentation or the best background or the best anything. Just take it away, because really, I ask my students to leave their ego at the door when they walk into my classroom, and to leave themselves open and raw, because they will learn more in that state by being more vulnerable, and they will give more in that state as well. And it's an uncomfortable state for many people, but in that discomfort, we'll find growth. And I truly believe that. And as I think Susan said, these things that I'm talking about, this isn't just happening in the first week or something. This is how I continue to go and continue to remind, because that's how I build the culture. I can't just say it once and go on. You have to keep looping back and proving and showing, and then saying, maybe that's not working in this group. You guys, is this working? Ask, get their feedback, be a reflective teacher.
Leslie?
Susan. Yeah.
Well, but I am an asynchronous online instructor and have been since 2005, and have been progressively creating this journey of making my courses more human, being more of myself with my students. I send out announcements with really cool images every week, sometimes twice a week. I give them personalized feedback in the discussion boards. If they were particularly supportive to one of their classmates, I make sure I use that classmate's name and how supportive they were. They get the idea that I'm noticing and that I'm really paying attention. even though they'll never see me, we'll never be face to face. I don't hold Zoom meetings because these students signed up for an asynchronous course. I'll make myself available to Zoom with them, but it's not a requirement. And it has been a real journey for me in being more spontaneous and using the word oops.
Oh, yeah.
Oops, I actually forgot to put the observation form in an observation that's due at the end of the week. Luckily, one of the students last week said, I can't find it. And I said, oops, thank you for letting me know. And I immediately put it in there and thanked her for it. But it's been a real journey trying to figure out how to personalize an asynchronous course. I don't do, or I haven't been assigned the synchronous classes. And I'm not sure if I could do that anymore. But really keeping my contact with them throughout the semester, whether it's an 8-week course or a 16-week course, so they know I'm paying attention to them. And the feedback they get isn't just a copy paste. It's something that has their name in it, that points out something they did in the assignment, or tips on how to do it better next time. It's really made a big difference.
I think that personal touch is great, Susan.
So
that's creating your culture and your relationships.
Even if you're doing synchronous courses, you can still send out those announcements and those.
Oh, yes.
I had a guidance class that I taught, and I sent out Wednesday Wisdom. And sometimes it was just a meme of a poster that said something really cool about positive guidance. And they ate it up. They absolutely. So even though it's an asynchronous, you can still give them the content and the knowledge that you're paying attention to them.
Such good ideas. Thank you. Along those lines, you can do face-to-face one-on-ones with your students too during office hours, and you really get the chance to know your students that way, and they're so grateful for that time. Speaking of time, I think we're done, or I think my time is way over. Am I?
Huh?
So am I done?
I do want to take the last couple of minutes to just kind of check in with and I know that it's totally flipping gears, and this is such a valuable conversation for us to be having, and I could spend all day on here, as I'm sure many others could, and I'm happy to stay on afterwards if people want to just have a place to hang out and talk some more. But I do have a little business that we got to take care of. So yesterday I was invited into the education community of practice because our movement has actually created one for education. And it's really cool because they're doing things that are going to be very supportive to the education classes. And one of the things that they have decided that they're going to do is they're going to create Canvas shells that are course resources. And so what they're going to be doing is they're going to have, for their 10-hour class versus their 45-hour class, they're going to create video libraries for those classes, and they're going to go through and work with each other to build these video libraries, and they're going to have it be different so students don't see the same videos in both classes if they take both classes. And so they had proposed it as possibly something that we might want to consider doing as we think about how do we move Practicum into an online classroom, online format. So if you're interested in any form of supporting that process or helping with that, and maybe creating some sort of a course resource for us, please do not hesitate to reach out. I will be happy to take names and work with you individually, and we'll come together somehow as a group and kind of pull that together. Because I thought, how cool would that be if we have people who are going to be using these tools come together and build the tools that we're going to use. So if that's something interesting to you, please reach out. You can put your name in the chat box or email me, and I'd love to connect with you further on that. If you think that's a good idea. I guess I'm assuming that I think it's a good idea. So, But if you think it's a good idea, and if you don't, please let me know as well, so we can kind of figure out what direction this group wants to take. And I'll email out that request to everybody. Thank you, Joelle. So I'll do that. The other thing that I wanted to, I'm sorry, I gotta stop reading the chat box for a second. The other thing I wanted to connect with people on was we sent out an email a couple of weeks ago with the advocacy letters that we drafted. Hopefully you all got them. We wanted to kind of take a poll to see how you are doing within your advocacy efforts. So I have a Google Doc. I'm going to drop the link in there into the chat box. If you could please take a couple of moments to fill out this Google Doc to let us know how you've been advocating, if you've been advocating, just so we can get an idea of what's already going on. We would really greatly appreciate that, because we're trying to get into phase 2 and we need feedback from people. So I've just put the link in the chat box. It's a really quick little, have you done it? Which letters have you sent out? Because we're trying to get a feel for what people are doing and what people are needing. The other thing that we wanted to check in with is, and Kim, please help me remember these things if I'm missing anything. The other thing we wanted to check in on is we're going to start phase 2 of our plan of advocacy. So when we had our last meeting, we were in small groups brainstorming who are the people that need to get this information. And then we needed to figure out, should we all send one letter or should we all send individual letters? And so we went through and did that. And so the first round of advocacy, we had a list of all the people that you had said, these are the people that you can send at your local level. And then these are the people who should be getting one letter with lots of voices. So yesterday evening, I sent out an email with a quick little Google form for each of the letters. And I was just told this morning that a couple of links did not stick on that email. So I'll resend it with those links. But if you could go through and sign off saying, hey, this is my advocacy effort for this item. So when we go to Governor Newsom, we can say, here are 400 people who have signed off saying this is what we need. So the more people that you can also have sign those, the better. And so please spread that love, because we need to get those things signed so we can have a louder voice when we go to like Tony Thurman and all those great people. Another group we'll be advocating to is NAYC. And so the stronger our voice, the better, I think, if we can have more people.
Rachel, do you mind if I talk for just a quick
Yes, please.
Sorry, you guys, I had to get off for a second because one of my kids needed me. With our advocacy efforts right now, like, this is incredibly time sensitive, and I apologize because I know it's summer and we're on people's personal time. Thank you all for taking your personal time to be here today. But for the advocacy efforts that Rachel sent out, and then what she's going to do with the resend with the updated links, if you could please do that and sign off to whatever letters you're planning to sign off to. I know this is going to sound really quick, but like by Thursday evening, that would be greatly appreciated, because in order to get what we're asking for, they need a couple weeks to get the resources in line for us. So we need to give them a little bit of lead time. And so please sign off as early as you can. Rachel, thank you for your leadership on all these efforts. You are fantastic. And it's just exciting to see not just who you are, but who you are becoming, my dear friend. So thank you, Rachel. And thank you, everybody, for advocating. We are going to be okay.
Yes.
Let's stay together. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much.
So is there anything else we want to check in on regarding advocacy, regarding anything else?
Actually, Rachel, somebody just posted about the Early Care Policy Council. There's 2 meetings. Becky just posted about it on the chat.
Yes.
And there's 2 meetings that are happening next week, I believe Monday and Wednesday. One is I believe the general meeting, and the other one is specifically focused on parents. I know I'm personally signed up to attend both. I'm not sure if others are, but I wasn't planning on doing comment, but if you guys can be involved and be present, I think that's always a strategic thing to do.
I think Monday is workforce development.
Yes, Monday's workforce, yes. And you have to RSVP for those meetings too.
And I'll send out an email with all the chat information, with the links to all everything that we've talked about today. I'll send that all out, and I'll send the links to those 2 meetings so you can sign up for those as well if you're interested in that.
Fantastic.
And then we also have the website that I'm still building. We are going to be building it out even more to involve more of education. So they're going to have more on that website as well. If you have anything you would like to contribute, I know today, who was it? Where are they? Jennifer Brifa, she posted some wonderful rubrics on creating equitable classes for students, and there's checklists. I'm going to post those. She gave me permission to post those on the website, so you'll be able to find them there, and I'll send the link out again. But please, if you can, contribute to that website. We are building it out so you have all of your resources in one place, and we're very excited about how it's turning out. Well, I am. I think it's becoming quite the amazing resource, and I hope that you'll find it as useful as I am. So
extra commitment too that Rachel hasn't shared here, but I'm going to give a shout out. Rachel bought the site this week. It wasn't that much. She did it out of pocket. We're going to figure out how to get her the money back. So it's getting real, you guys, because we at least have the site for a year now, and it costs an amount that we can maintain it well past that. And so anyways, just wanted to let you know something exciting. We see the need, and so we're taking the personal investment in order to make sure that the group has what's needed. So thank you, Rachel, for your leadership on that.
You're welcome. Okay. Anything else? Can we give a huge shout out to Dr. Leslie and Trish for everything that they did for us today? It was amazing.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
I am very grateful. We are going to have Shoshana next time talk about Flipgrid. She has volunteered to help us learn about Flipgrid. And then I am going to be working with Dr. Almeida to help build in a little bit more on equity in that realm. So I'm very excited about the next one. It'll be on July 29th. So please, if you can, join us. I know people wanted to learn about Flipgrid, and I'm really excited because I want to learn about it too.
Rachel, could I share something real quick too? I just found online.
Yes.
I just found it yesterday. There, for those of you who are on Facebook, I'm totally old school. I'm like totally still on Facebook and active on it, everybody. But I found this brand new community that's like developing right now. I just put it in the chat, and it's called Distance Learning Educators. And at first I thought it was just K-12, but there's people on there like, hi, I'm a psychology professor at the community college level, and I'm looking for resources. And I mean, it's just this great online platform where you can put out stuff to share, and you can also say, hey, this is who I am. What do you have to help us here? And so anyway, so far it's been an incredibly supportive platform. Looks like there's a little under 2,000 people on it, so it's building. But check it out for those of you that are on Facebook. It definitely will be worth your time.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing
Rachel,
else.
there was one question in the chat asking if we needed to get our campus permission to sign our names on the advocacy, if we're representing the campus, if anybody knows that answer.
I think that would be dependent on your own individual campus. I mean, you know your campus better than I do.
I think that's part of the campus culture, and it really, I do think it will depend per campus. You may want to at least talk to your first level of supervisor, if it's like a dean you're working with, or your chair, or just, hey, I just want to run this by you, make sure it's on your radar. If you'd like me to run it up any further for approval, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to be, signing this along with hundreds of other faculty members across the state of California. So, hey, and would you like to sign with us, since you're my dean, or you're my chair, or you're my VP, or you're my president? So don't be shy. Also, make sure we move it forward, everybody. Get rid of barriers, but don't be shy to invite people along.
I love the question, ask or apologize.
Apologize. Don't ever ask a question you don't want the answer for.
As my former CEO used to say, it's always better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
That's right.
Well, we're seen as professionals in our field. And so we're coming forth as professionals to say, this is the advice that we are giving leadership in terms of what needs to happen. So when they say they talk to the field, guess what? That's us.
Yep.
We should be able to.
I will say it was really cool at my college. We had sent out the letters to all of our faculty, and one of them got so passionate about sending it out. She sent it out to everybody and just kind of blinded everybody with all these letters. And the really cool thing was our dean came back to us and said, how much does it cost to get electronic tools for your program? What can I do for you? And so she knew that we were working on this, but the fact that her response was, what do we need to do to get you the money? And I'm like, well, the money is not quite necessary yet because we don't know how much it's going to cost yet. But like the fact that that was their response because they're seeing our passion and our advocacy, like that's a change. So I am hoping that you have similar experiences.
Rachel, we should share with everybody also. We had a discussion just yesterday that we're going to start writing a white paper on our experience with the community of practice in early childhood education and in EDU. We really want to share some results of what we thought was going to be kind of some temporary summer meetings, which is turning into a totally different ongoing community that will continue to be developed. And so we need to let people know, and especially leadership needs to understand that, especially for so many of us, this is not paid work. This is just what we do because it's right for our students and it's right for the workforce. So we're going to find a way to let it be known, including sharing a list of who has registered for our different meetings and what colleges have been involved, and just to let them know. We just want everybody to know that this will turn into more information for leadership moving forward. So thank you for your participation and your impact.
Well, with that being said, it's 11:32. I'm going to hang on if people want to hang on, and if not, I hope you have a good rest of the day. Keep your breathing up. Yay, have a good afternoon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. This was amazing again.
Thank you.
This is so cool.
This will be a great one to put up on the site for other people to watch after too. Continuing.
Thank you so much.
This was so cool. Thank you.
Great day,
You're welcome.
What?
Were you wanting to say something earlier that didn't get to happen?
Did you raise your
it's
hand?
okay. It's okay. Because I realized that I could tie it right into the next time about, because I was thinking about how to apply the same principles to asynchronous classes. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about next time. So we're good.
Okay. And that was Susan Ferguson who was sharing about that.
Right. Yeah. So I'll add to that next time when I talk about Flipgrid and some very specific ways on how I've been trying to develop community using it as a tool.
Great.
So it'll be good. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Next time. Thank you.
See you next time. And Shoshana, if you need anything, I'm here to support you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you for all of this. This has been
know.
incredible. I boast to everyone else about how we've been supporting each other and collaborating. Like I go to my kids' school, I'm like, why are you making teachers wait for decisions to be made? We've been working on furthering our practice for months while you're making decisions.
Yeah.
And I've been boasting to everyone about what an incredible field is. And then I just love how we get to talk to everyone all the time, because sometimes even though we work together and it's such a relationship-based field, we come and go and we don't always see each other. Especially adjuncts who are like, okay, sorry, I have to go. I'm running to the next campus. I have to be across the valley in 35 minutes.
Right now.
Pierce and Valley.
Okay.
Yeah.
You taught at Canyons, didn't you?
I did. Yes.
Okay, I'm so embarrassed. Was I on your hiring committee?
Yes.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, God, and I messaged to Rachel, I'm like, is she still at COC? I'm sorry, since I'm not there anymore.
No, it's okay. It's been a while since I've been there. It's just too far for me.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe right now, when no one else is driving, it works. Yes. Well, that's what I taught online there.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But it's just the traffic between here and there. I'm already driving to 2 corners of the valley, and my husband worked in downtown, so
Too much.
it's too much. Yeah, we need someone close for emergencies for the kids.
No, absolutely.
Can I tell you, when you said popsicles, the first thing I thought of was that comment about germs and your daughter's licking.
Oh my gosh, yes. How her best friend just would come up, lick her popsicle and walk away. Oh my gosh, seriously.
Oh, the things we did pre-COVID.
I know.
So silly.
Oh my gosh. And now we were watching some video online, and it was during COVID, and people were wearing masks, but they weren't wearing them properly, and it completely ruined the experience for the kids. They're sitting there yelling at the TV going, their nose is sticking out, they're breathing on each other's food, what are they doing? And these are kids who would lick each other's popsicles at school once upon a time, and always shared their germs.
So
So crazy. I know, and they totally were taking advantage of me. I'm staring right at them, and they completely know. They're like, Mom's busy, we can have popsicles for breakfast.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. My 7-year-old, every day, Mom, can I have one more? Mom, can I have one more?
Yeah.
And I'm on meetings, and it's, yeah, okay, go.
I bet you I'm gonna walk into the other room and there's like a rated PG-13 movie on or something too. They take so much advantage when they see my headphones on, and my husband's here, but he like is in the garage and closes the door and puts it.
That is so
he's
funny.
in healthcare, so like he's like really like at work, and so they go, they scan, what are Mom and Dad doing? Okay, we're good, we're gonna grab the popsicles and the remote control.
And they make sure to get one for the other one too, so they're both in on it.
No, they're like, oh, she had 2 popsicles, now I have to have 2 popsicles. Yes.
Fair is fair.
Exactly. Okay, well, thank you. I better go check in on them though. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'm very excited about it.
It's good to see everybody, you guys. Have a good rest of the week.
Thank you. You too.
Leslie's so good. So
Thank
good.
you, Kim.
Yeah,
Really, really wonderful.
everything, you guys.
Thank you so
We're
much.
doing meaningful work this summer, so it's very good.
Yeah.
Will there be a transcript?
I can't hear you.
I said, will there be a transcript? Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, great. I understand it was
my new
great.
t-shirt, Lila.
What'd you say?
I got to show you my new t-shirt.
Okay, let me see.
Hold on, let me go get it.
Oh, okay. Do you like my background?
I'm sorry, Kim, what was that?
I'm sorry, what is your doctorate in?
It's an ED, in educational leadership.
Education. What? Do you mind if I ask what you did your dissertation on?
Yes, I did my dissertation on, I can't even remember the actual title because they're so ridiculous, but it was on whether or not teachers or educational students chose specific grade levels based on their own challenges or strengths with certain subject matter. And I specifically worked it around math because, math is my hang up. So I worked it around math and to see if people say chose up in grade level or down in grade level, or became specifically math teachers or just wanted to do elementary because they still wanted to teach all subjects, or whether they went to preschool because